I'm Simon from LaunchLabs, and I'm looking out for Ellie. She should be in the room as well. Oh, she's down there, but she will be here in a minute. In the meantime, I'm going to introduce Toby to you. He's also a colleague of mine. He's in Berlin right now, and Ellie is here. Excellent. So say hello, Ellie.
Hi, everyone. We're going to play an awesome board game. So stay here if you want to play the game. If you want to listen to the atrium discussion and you're here by mistake, it's now the time to fix it.
All right. Thank you very much. And we are from LaunchLabs, a small innovation enabling company in Berlin and in Sofia. And we kind of created this game, and that is on the why of design thinking. So there are lots of nice exercises and even like some game-like exercises in the design thinking world that focus on the how of design thinking, like how does it actually feel to do design thinking? What's the experience? So there are exercises like whose life is it? Who has ever heard of this exercise? A few people. And then there's the wallet exercise, or gift-giving experience. So these are all exercises that kind of lead you through the whole design thinking process in a fast-forward manner. You really get a feeling of how design thinking feels like. And it creates a lot of momentum, excitement, and even fun. But the thing that we were facing is, before we actually start with these very interactive and fun exercises, we somehow have to explain to organizations why design thinking is important, why design thinking matters. And we usually do this with a slide deck, okay? And that to me felt like a huge contrast. So we show them the slides first, we're going to talk about things, and only then they jump into this kind of nice interaction. So that's why we started creating this kind of game that actually focus on the why of design thinking. You're not actually doing design thinking, but it's more like a simulation for an organization that starts implementing design thinking in their organization. And it shows you what happens when you focus on the user, when you work in iterations, when you work cross-functionally and so on. So you get the bigger picture as an organization and not the micro picture of doing one of these excellent exercises that at least some of us know. All right, we're going to quickly explain to you the rules, and the people who are here in Cape Town at this nice venue, later on you have to group yourself in teams of 4 around one of these tables. So you can't just sit on a chair, but you need to group at a table like this with 4 people. We have 30 games, so that's for 120 people. I'm not sure if it's going to work out, but hopefully there's enough games for everyone, for each and everyone. So, Toby, let's jump into the rules of the game. And we do this by explaining it virtually, because we have also some people attending virtually. Hello. And here in this space, it's easy to like flip around cards to move the little figures here. But in the online world, it needs some more explanation of how to do it. That's why we do it in the digital way. Toby, just go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. And also welcome from my end, from Berlin to Cape Town, and also like to our virtual participants, which I can already see here. So like you already can see behind me, like this is our virtual playground. And you all see already that we have here like four quadrants. These are like our 4 markets, and each player will have like 1 market. And when you're like going on the virtual board, the first thing what you will do is like you will type in your name. Let me just scroll in a little bit closer so that you can see it. So you reserve like one of the markets for yourself by typing in your name. And then, of course, we have to start by playing the game by rolling a dice. And after in the virtual world, it's kind of difficult to roll a physical dice, we have virtual dice for you. And this is something you find on both sides for your convenience. So what you have to do here is like you have to click on this button, then will open up a new window, and then you have to click on that dice. One important thing is that you will just really speak out loud what kind of number you have, because only you as a player see what kind of number you roll with the dice, no one else. So this is why you have to be really fair to all the other players. And then after you roll the dice, just make like an example, you roll a 2. What you will do is like you move vertically and horizontally, and then you will, in the virtual version, you delete this card, and then you see a value appearing for you. And this value you will type into your points. And step by step, you are adding more and more value to your company. The important thing is, because in this kind of stage, you will not see like what will be there behind all the cards. You have to undo the step again. So you have to remember the value behind the card on this field. Okay. So when you roll a 2, for instance, you would just going like 2 downwards, like 2 vertically or 2 horizontally. When you, for instance, rolling a 3, then you can go like 2 vertically and 1 horizontally. So that means, to show it to you, you can then unveil this card. And this value, then 5 again, you adding to your points over here. But you also see that there are some special fields. And these special fields are your skills. And these skills you can only reach by rolling 4, 5, or 6. And these special skills you have are like cross-functional teamwork, customer focus, experimental mindset, and innovation culture. And what is behind that, Simon will explain to you.
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Toby. So the goal is to kind of develop these skills as an organization, right? But what do these skills actually help you in the game and in the real world? I mean, in the real world, I think most of the people here know that you need cross-functional teamwork, you need user focus, as well as an experimental mindset. And all in all, you want to have an innovation culture. But Toby, let's have a look at what these things actually mean, which advantages they provide in the game. So let's have a look at the cross-functional teamwork. Once you reach the cross-functional teamwork skill, you are able to move diagonal as well, not only horizontally or vertically, but you can move in a diagonal way. So that's a big advantage in the game. Let's talk about customer focus. Once you reach that field, you can can you make this a little bit bigger, Toby? Yeah. So you can pick 4 cards in your quadrant, and these cards will double their value because you have customer focus. You get more value out of these cards. But once you choose those cards, you probably don't know what's behind those cards. But if you have already made some moves, you probably remember which were the most interesting moves with the biggest numbers behind them, and you want to pick those cards in order to double in value. The tricky thing is you always, like Toby said, you always have to turn the card on its back again. So you always have to memorize what used to be there. And by the time you'll get to know your market, your users better and better. Right? By each turn you do, you know a little bit better. Okay, moving on. So these were the 4 cards that you can define the double in value. And now let's talk about the experimental mindset. Here you can change the position of 4 cards of your choice in the whole thing. So for example, if you always throw a 2, you put the most valuable cards in the radius of 2. So in order to be there more often and gain more points. And then there's a final skill. You can only reach it by rolling a 6. And you can also only reach it when you have reached all the other skills before, because it's innovation culture. You can't just start with innovation culture. You need all the other skills, and then eventually when you roll a 6, you get innovation culture. And this is really interesting, because once you have innovation culture, you can also start moving into the other quadrants. So now you know how innovation works, and you can kind of disrupt the other players' world and collect some value out of their fields. And therefore, you just double the number of the dice roll that you have. So if you roll a 3, then you have a 6. If you roll a 6, then you have a 12. So you can move like far beyond your own quadrant. Okay. So these are the skills you earn during the game. But then there are some hidden things on your cards as well. So it may happen that when you turn over a card, there's no number appearing. We have 5, 10, and 15 points, okay? But eventually, you will find something like this, an eye opener. And the eye opener just means you can open the cards surrounding your position and take a look at all of those cards, because you kind of have done some user research, and suddenly you have an eye opener and you get a lot of insight, a lot of information, okay? So of course you still have to memorize these things, but for once you can turn them around, have a look at them, and then you need to turn them around again. But this, a lot of intelligence that you have then, that you didn't have before. Going on, here's kind of, it's a blockbuster. So at one time, you really are the lucky one. You know your customer and all these things. And this card turns up. And this means around your position. So this means one field in front, one field to the side, to the other side. And like around your position, you can reveal 3 cards of your choice and earn all the value that these 3 cards provide. So you are not just allowed to turn 1 card, but 3 cards. And this can be a lot of points. And this can, for example, also be an eye opener or something else where you even get more value out of it. So this is really interesting. But then there's another thing that's kind of a downer. Sorry, I have to say this in the last, as the last event that we have. So from time to time in organizations, there happens something called reorganization. So cost cutting, all these things. And this is what these cards mean. So it's a reorg. And as soon as you have this reorg, all the cards close to your position only are worth half the value of what stands there. So a 15 becomes a 7.5, a 10 becomes a 5, and so on. So that's a bad thing. You don't want this to happen. But somewhere it may be. Okay. These are the events. You will see them when they pop up, and then you have the skills. You want to earn the skills as fast as possible in order to kind of disturb the other organizations and their attempt to innovate. That's kind of about it. There's one thing I have to say. After each turn, you go back to your starting position. That's maybe a little bit of a difference to other games where you like turn and turn and turn and move beyond and beyond. With this game, you always go back to the starting position and then roll the dice again. Yeah. Ooh, that was kind of a lot. That's the bad thing with games. First you have to explain the rules, but trust me, just start with the game. We're going to show the rules on the screens here for the people who are here in this space. And the remotees, they have the rules very conveniently at their remote playboard. We are going to answer all of your questions during the game. It wouldn't make any sense to talk about that game any longer. We're just going to start. You can ask questions virtually, but you can also lift your hand in the room if you need some clarification of what's going to happen next. Make sure that you have kind of a pen to write down your numbers here in the physical world, and the remoters can do it virtually. All right. We are going to start the teaming now, and that means people here in the space need to find a table where there's still just 3 people or 2 people sitting. One seat needs to be empty. And Toby is going to talk about the virtual teaming.
Exactly. Thank you so much. And so for the virtual teaming, what we will do is we will randomize the virtual participants in teams. So at the moment, I see we have 6 people. So for our tech support, please also divide these 6 people in 2 equal teams of 3. And then what you have to do when your breakout call will be opened, you will know if you are in breakout 1 or 2. What you have to do is you have to go to the overall Miro board of the Decon Festival. There you find this specific space where you can find all about the innovation game. And on the upper left corner here, you have a little button. You have to press on that. When you press on that, you will get into our teaming board. And after we just have 2 teams, it is really simple. So you just have to find if you are in the breakout call 1 or 2, and then you click on the little Miro icon over here, and then you come to your playground. So this is how it works. And then I will just ask our tech team to open up the breakouts. We will do, like I said, two groups. Then we can start playing.
Throw of the dice. Please collect your points and see who's the winner in your team. And give a big hand to the winners of that team afterwards. What we want to do now is do a little reflection. So sorry, I have to stop you now from going on with the game. It gives me a good feedback already since you're still engaged in the game. But I said before, this whole game has a goal. It wants to make people reflect on establishing innovation and design thinking within an organization. And I want to hear some feedback from you guys. When have you been thinking of, oh yeah, that's really in real life, or what was going on when you were playing on the meta level? How did you think about, does it fit with real life? Whatever. Who wants to start with the feedback here? I think over there. And yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you very much for the experience. What drew my attention the most was the mindset of being experimental. And the reason for that was because when I used the mindset to swap the cards, I didn't know what was the value of the cards. So the swapping didn't bring any benefit to me. So I did the experiment, but I had no evidence of what exactly I was doing. So that brought absolutely no benefit to me. So in real life, when we are experimenting, it's not just about doing whatever. You need to understand, you need to have some evidence about what exactly you want to experiment and why you want to experiment like that.
Very nice, very nice. And so you usually, I give you a pro tip here. You usually want to use that skill only when you know which cards are holding what. Yeah, I have a very nice observation. I think over there in the room, there was the lady in the white dress. Please share your thoughts.
I thought it was quite interesting because at the beginning, when you obviously didn't know what the values were, and once you knew what the values were, you became more competitive and more strategic, and you just wanted to roll the dice to that specific number. So I felt like it's not as realistic as when you're doing it, when you're in a business space, depending on the level that you're at. But once you knew what the values were, well, that's how I felt. I just became more competitive and more strategic. I just wanted to win.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think I created this thing in order to encourage iterations, right? So you see, first you have a blank set of cards, and the more iterations you do, you understand better. That was kind of the idea behind it. So there's also somebody here who wants to share her thoughts.
I really enjoyed the game. What I liked about it is, especially when you're working with the team, is how we all interpreted the rules differently. So I think we played a variation of what you created, but it was very interesting how everyone interprets their things differently, and there was understanding, there was truth, and there was logic to what everyone's interpretation of the rule was.
Thank you very much. And you touch a point. We were very bad in instructions here. But yeah, you made the best out of it. It's great. And as long as all the people at the table stick to those rules, it's just fine.
Yes, thank you. We had a lot of innovation here. Thank you for the game. It was a really fun to play. And one of the things that we battled with from the start was trying to remember what the value of the 4 exposed cards were. And it made me think of real life in terms of how difficult it is to explain the value and to help people to remember what the value of these 4 unique attributes of design thinking are when we try and help them understand and plant the seeds. Is that keeping that at our forefront is what is the reward of going through the process and trying to get to that as probably an ultimate goal that gives you all the flexibility on the board. That really resonated with me in terms of a real life experience.
Okay, thank you. Moritz here in front of us.
Thanks. So we did in the last 5 minutes, we uncovered all the cards to see what's there, just to see. And it was very interesting. I didn't realize that while we were playing that my quadrant was actually quite bad. I only had 5s and 2 10s. So amongst the whole playing field, it's different resources you're playing with, like different companies, but even like different companies, speaking here from Africa perspective, a lot of resources on the one hand, but a lot of no resources because creativity, education, and so on. But exactly, and that was now the design thinking breakthrough. I actually won, even though I had bad resources, because I did all this customer focus, all this stuff, which we completely misinterpreted, by the way. But anyways, so yeah.
Very nice. So yeah, by design, these are like distributed by chance, right? There can be one quadrant that has all the blockbuster innovations in it. Who knows? But yeah, try to make the best out of it. I think we have a last sharing here, and then we have to move on.
So I have to admit that I was completely lost at the start. But as we went on, I think the insights that came to me was one, is it wasn't really about the values as much, because we also discovered the different quadrants and the values at the end, but it was around leveraging skill sets to unlock the potential of the values that you had. And I think the other thing was that in terms of making it visual, so when you knew what your score was, it was writing it up, but I also started writing at the back of my card because there wasn't a rule that said that. So I knew where the pig icon was as an example, but I realized that by doing that, if somebody else was able to come into my quadrant, they'd also see where the pig was. So somehow helping myself also means that my competitors might have access to that, but it doesn't take away from the fact that I'm still managing to kind of, get better at what I'm doing. So that was very interesting for me.
Yeah, I really like this observation. So imagine yourself in the business world, you have a blockbuster innovation. Guess what happens? A lot of copycats will come and try to make a money out of this as well. So that's a very good observation you had here. I'm not sure if we do have some online comments or questions. Mark, no, not yet. Okay, then I would like you to give us a small feedback, and I'd like to ask Toby if you can put the link on the screen. It's a very short form. We just have 4 questions. One is asking how did you like the game, what was surprising to you, and then some reflections on real life and the game. And whoever likes to do this, it doesn't have to be now, can be throughout the day, whatever. Just make sure that you scan the link and then give us some more feedback so that we can even improve that game. yeah, there's the feedback link already. As of now, that's it. Thanks a lot for participating. It was a pleasure to see this happening here, and see you around. Thank you.